Hey,
good evening,
live.
good afternoon.
Hello, Ollie.
How are you, Sam? You're looking very blurred there, or is
How's
that
it
just
going?
me looking at you? You're coming from another dimension.
You've got your new glasses on now. You've got your new
I
glasses.
have. Yes.
Okay, fine. Light.
I'm trying to look intelligent.
So
is it
tonight,
working?
yes, it is. It's working very well, Ollie.
Thank you. I'll take that as a win.
It's not just you and me tonight. It's
isn't it?
We've got Shane joining us and our guests tonight. So
there's always someone spoiling it, isn't there?
Tonight, Ollie?
Yes, well, I'm very impressed because I've been following not only this comic but their careers. We've got a triumvirate of great British creators talking about old haunts. We've got Olly Masters, we've got Laurence Campbell, and you can see it down at the bottom there. And of course, when we've got everybody together, we should have Shane as well, and of course Rob Williams. So. Yes. It's going to be quite a packed hour, I suspect.
Some great creators, definitely. And there's lots of other questions we can ask them, not just about their old haunts, so about all their other work, definitely. I'm very interested in some of their other stuff, but it's going to be a great one tonight. Should we run VT and
run VT?
Yeah. Run VT. that means videotape, but we don't have any videotape because this is like now, not the 90s.
Yeah, this isn't Mac's Rec Room anymore.
Right. Let's run the video, and when we come back, everyone's going to be here, aren't they?
Yay! Let's hope so. Which Ollie are you talking to, me or the other one?
Ollie's he's not here yet. He's in the.
Oh, it's a
Run
secret.
VT. No, not that one. Run VT. Hello, and we're back with Olly Masters.
Hi, how's it going?
Hello, Ollie. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Am I the only creator who's bothered to turn up?
Oh, these slackers!
You're the most important creator, so we decided to make it just about you.
Clearly, and
we've already invited people called Ollie on.
The main presenter of this hasn't turned up, so don't worry about it. No, he's having a little bit of trouble, so he'll be here soon.
Good.
Well, let's just jump straight into it then and get all of the best questions out of the way first, and then when Shane comes on, he can just repeat everything again.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm not repeating myself. You have one chance at every question. I mean, I will repeat myself because I do that anyway, but I won't intentionally.
Well, let's start off with AWA because this is a publishing company that I've been following it from its inception. I got very lucky looking at the Resistance and also the shared universe, which I know Old Haunts isn't part of. Was that part of the deal going in then, that you didn't have to be tied into this new universe?
Yeah, definitely. Because mean, I got a very cryptic message from Axel way before like AWA was announced.
And this is Axel Alonso, isn't it?
Yeah. Who, like, we'd chatted a little bit when he was still at Marvel. I only did one book. I only ended up doing one book of Marvel, but we ended up getting to know each other a bit over email, but like, didn't know each other that well. And he sent me this cryptic message saying, "Can we talk at some point?
Can we talk?"
Okay. But then he phoned me up and explained about this new thing that was going to. I'm not even sure if he told me the name, or maybe it didn't have a name back then. I'm not sure, but right. But yeah, he got hold of me and he explained it's going to be this kind of like almost. Well, I know it's ended up becoming lots of almost different sub-publishers underneath it, but this thing where it's going to be a mix of this big shared universe that you can choose to be a part of, you can choose to do something in that universe, or you can just do your own thing, and that seemed a kind of like perfect best of both worlds, almost kind of what DC. Well, I guess it kind of still has it now, but where they had Vertigo and then. In the DC universe, so it's like you can either choose to play in that playground or go off and do your own thing, and so it immediately appealed to me. And I'm sure we'll get into this when Rob joins, but we'd already been. It hadn't quite become Old Haunch yet, but we'd kind of been talking. Well, funnily enough, the reason why we did it together was because we both came to each other and said, "Oh, I've got this new idea I've been working on. Like, do you mind if I tell you about it?"
Oh,
and we basically had the exact different stories, but the exact same premise.
Really?
Yeah. or like he came to me and I said, "Oh, that's funny. I've been working on maybe something like that." But we essentially had come up with the same premise of gangsters being haunted, and so we just thought, well, we've been trying to find something to work together on because we've been friends for like years and years, and we just figured, well, if we've both come up with this idea independently, then that's kind of like the perfect way to have a co-writing relationship. Is there's literally no one whose this idea is more than the other person, because we both had the same idea independently.
So you didn't think about duking it out and having a duel at dawn to make up. You were very amicable about this arrangement then.
Well, I thought I can either hunt him down, kill him, make sure he can't do the idea, or get him to do half the work.
Yeah.
And as a very lazy man, that appealed to me massively.
And how does the scripting work when it's two of you with a similar idea? Do any ideas that maybe you have come to the forefront, or any ideas that Rob have come to the forefront and go, actually, that works better than my initial idea, let's go with that?
Well, because basically we had that kind of like initial, just basically elevator pitch. Like my original version of it was very different to what we ended up doing here. So we stripped away all of the extra stuff we had, like the other settings, the storyline we had, kept the elevator pitch, and then decided everything else together. So we were bringing in our own ideas, stuff like that, but it wasn't like this was two finished ideas kind of like battling out for supremacy. It was very much kind of like we're coming on from this basic premise and then we're going to bring it all kind of like together. So there wasn't really anything like that. But I mean, the basic way we made it work was me and Rob would get together either in person or just over like Skype. And we'd hash out like big, the big storyline.
Yeah.
That's how we did it first. So this is the big storyline. Then we did it issue by issue. And then we basically did it page by page, where together we would go through, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Then we split the script in half, like for each issue. Right. He wrote the first 10 pages, I wrote the last 10 pages, and then we'd swap those pages and we'd rewrite each other's pages. Then we'd put it together and then we'd both do a couple of passes on it. So it ends up becoming this kind of like proper, hey, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, all. Sorry I'm late. I had some technical difficulties.
Don't worry, you wouldn't be the only one. Shane's not even here yet.
And no Laurence either.
Well, there's been backstage shenanigans, shall we say. I'm here, and I think they're going to be in a minute, hopefully.
Yes. Who needs them anyway, eh?
The most important person was here all along.
Well, holding the fort and taking the credit.
So who's
that's our relationship in a
nutshell. Exactly, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And who's the biggest potty mouth out of you two of you? Because having read Old Horns, I was very wary that I wasn't going to be saying F this and F that tonight, because it's quite it's very much of the language of these gangsters that we'll come to in a moment, these old fellas. And I love the double take on the title, by the way, Old Horns.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to swear here, or do we have to keep it clean?
I would have thought we've sworn in the past. I suspect we'll be okay to say certain words, and it is within context, isn't it?
I won't intentionally do it.
No.
I don't know who's the most swearing. I'm tempted to say me, especially as it's almost in the last 2-3 months. No, last 6 months. I've been told on 3 or 4 different TV scripts to tone down the swearing.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Especially on the children's TV scripts.
Yeah, it turns out, hey Dougie, you can't be dropping F-bombs.
No, I know. In the night garden, I mean, we love
the Shite's garden,
but the profanities.
Yeah. If you were in the night garden, you'd say, "What the fuck is that?"
I would definitely.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
How you doing, Laurence?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hi, Laurence. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, matey.
Haven't seen you in ages, Laurence.
It's been a while, isn't it? Funny enough.
Yeah.
I know. I spoke to Laurence about a work thing today, and his hair was crazy. And he's. I can confirm that he's made an effort tonight.
There we go.
Really?
Yeah. I've had my annual bath for this.
I'm here. Amazing.
Hey.
Oh my God, that's got to be the most chaotic start to a show ever.
And we've had some chaotic starts.
Yes, indeed. Sorry, guys, I must apologise.
No worries.
We had to go live because if we don't go live within 10 minutes, Facebook cuts us off. So I'm on my phone. Yeah, I'm on my phone. So I apologise if the audio or picture are bad.
Right.
Probably a better picture than normal. Actually.
Yeah, the picture's always bad with you in it, Shane.
Strange that.
Yeah, okay. So thanks, guys, for coming on to the show. Thanks for joining us on the Icecast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Cheers for the invite.
Oh, you're totally welcome. Totally welcome. So I don't know what Ollie and Sam have already asked you.
We were already talking about the swearing and the level of swearing and who's got the biggest potty mouth. Who was the person out of Rob and Ollie to say, I want more F-bombs in this first issue, please? But it is very appropriate for the kind of story you're telling. Now, you're going on about elevator pitches. Here's my elevator pitch to you to unpick. I wrote it down as Kingsley Amis's The Old Devil meets Godfather meets The Pardoner's Tale. And I think that third bit is opaque enough that it doesn't give anything away.
I think we would have had a hard job pitching Kingsley Amis to American publishers.
I think we had a job with Chaucer.
It's one of these kind of with pitches, you need to have you need to grab them with something they think will sell, and you can love Kingsley Amis as much as the next man, but I do think that in the current comics market, they're going to go, yeah.
I think, didn't we sell it as, was it if Michael Mann tried to make a David Lynch film?
Oh,
we had that at some point, didn't we? Yeah,
whenever you need to give that kind of it's this type pitch, which everyone always finds incredibly annoying.
When you're trying to pitch things, I mean, we all hate and turn our nose up at it's this meets this, but everyone kind of does it, and it's a really useful shorthand way of, it's dinosaurs meets robots.
It's just how you get it across to sort of the right sort of people, isn't it? So they can quickly understand what the idea is. Yeah. Get them to buy into it.
Exactly. I think you do.
I had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I pitched, I said, it's this meets this. I went, it's Michael Landon's Highway to Heaven. And the person I was pitching to went, No, don't. No.
Stop you there.
That is not a cultural touch point that is going to hold much sway in 2021 to try and make someone buy a project.
I buy into that.
Yeah.
I used to love that show.
Yeah.
So I don't know if these guys have asked already, but my first question was, what was the genesis of this book? So obviously to have two writers involved. I mean, was it one vision and then somebody else joined, or did you guys come up with the idea together? Shut up.
What
was the genesis of it?
We actually were just talking about this before you guys joined. I was saying,
Yes,
Rob,
yeah.
we basically, me and Rob basically had the same idea of like, you know, a mixture of kind of like crime and horror of gangsters being haunted. So we decided to kind of mix the ideas together and create something new.
Right. I mean, that is quite a new idea. I mean, I suppose that there's been some sort of horror stroke crime stuff come out before, but it doesn't happen very often, does it? I mean, the one that springs to mind for me was the Fatale. I don't know if you guys read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a lovely series, I thought. It was sort of it was horror, but it was mostly a crime book, but it had that sort of supernatural element to it that sort of just took it apart from other horror books. And I guess that's what this is doing as well. It looks like a crime book, you know, when you just look at the pages. I mean, this page here, for example, that's a crime book, you know. And then it sort of surprises you with all these other elements. How did Laurence get involved in the project, or was he always there?
It was kind of Laurence was just perfect for it. I mean, the one thing is, you know, his art style was just exactly what we were going for. And also, you know, he's a mate, and he was of both of us. So when Ollie and I were it was just one of those really nice things where it's really, really obvious who should draw this, you know. So then it was just a question of whether Laurence was available and, you know, and free to do it. So yeah.
And was it a no-brainer for you, Laurence?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I was just coming to the end of BPRD, which was like that had been played about 7 years in my life, so that was quite an important event. And I didn't want to just kind of do something else, just like drifting on from that. I felt I needed to step away from it to kind of, I don't know, shake it off, as it were, kind of thing, and just kind of try something else before kind of entering that world again, kind of thing. And this kind of ticked all my boxes, as in it was like a crime book, but it was also a horror book. And I thought the merging of the two together, and then more Rob and Ollie started talking about it being in the world, like in the city at night and things like this. And they kind of spoke about what kind of films they were into. And it was the same films as I'm really influenced by as well. So that kind of, it just thought everything just came into place, and it was like, yep, let's do this kind of thing. So yeah, it was good. And also Axel was kind of setting up AWA at the time as well. And Axel was my first editor at Marvel. So it was an opportunity to work with Ollie, Rob, and also Axel again. So that was great.
Yeah, and it's one of those, again, when we mentioned Laurence to Axel, I mean, Axel absolutely loves Laurence's work. So that was Axel was immediately sold on it. So it just all came together really perfectly. And then Lee Loweridge, who's coloured it, done a beautiful job on it. I mean, Laurence and I did a Punisher for Axel at Marvel years ago, and Lee coloured that. So it's kind of like, it's funny, even though there's a billion comic people out there in the world, it all seemed to come together really organically.
And I just latched myself onto
the
it.
nice thing when I went
and why not? Why not, eh? Why not take that opportunity?
Ride those coattails of an already established team.
Well, he's saying that, but Ollie was the one who Axel, I think, first asked to pitch to AWA. And then Ollie mentioned to me, and we were talking about this gangsters, you know, supernatural gangsters idea. But it was it's like, oh God, I've been nice to you. Look, what have I done? Oh no.
Does that not normally happen?
I know.
I'm recording this, Rob, and I'm going to edit that bit of footage out.
Feel
gonna go
nauseous.
Back in the loop.
Feel ill.
Unfortunately, this is a live show and it will be there forever. Well, until
know.
YouTube kick us off, anyway.
Notice, Rob, I haven't said anything nice about you so far.
No.
Lawrence, on the other hand, is a fantastic artist and someone great to work with. So was Lee and everyone else involved. It was a fantastic team.
It only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch, doesn't it?
And I must say, actually, the colouring is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
What?
It's,
Was that Lawrence?
someone stuck.
Yeah,
Is that you, Lawrence?
Lee locked it out of the park.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh no! Too much praise.
I like the way he said knocked it out the park and then he just popped away.
And then he disappeared.
Because actually talking about Lee, it's actually kind of funny because when Lawrence first started sending in the pages, like me and Rob almost kind of, and I think we already knew that Lee was coming on at this point, but we kind of went like, oh, these pages are so amazing. Maybe this actually work better as a black and white book. Because they were coming in, it was so perfect. And we thought, sometimes color, it could be too much or whatever. And we were really not concerned about his ability because Lee's one of the best colorists out there. But just, we felt like we had something here. Then the first couple of pages came in. And it's just, when you see something, it's almost kind of like, you see an artist drawing something, you kind of think, oh yeah, that's it. And then they just add a couple of strokes and suddenly it's like, oh no, I didn't even know what it could be. Yeah, that's kind of what happened with when Lee sent in the colors. It was, it's really great. Like,
he certainly captures LA at night. Not that I've ever been there, but certainly from that Michael Mann out meets David Lynch. It's glowing, but it's glowing in quite an ominous way, the way it's meant to as well.
And the city was a huge part of it because, we talked about, ghost stories always set in old houses and it's always something old, and we kind of went, well, wouldn't it be kind of cool to do a ghost story in a modern city at night? So you're looking, the Michael Mann collateral thing of how those high rises look, light shines off them. And then the general little ideas are like, what if you looked up into a high rise you're driving past and you see something up in the window, but you think, did I just see that?
So all peripheral vision thing,
exactly,
which is really creepy, really. Which is more, one of the things like Ollie and I, we both love Sopranos, and they do a haunted gangster thing in that called Cleaver, which is really a sort of schlock horror thing, Saw type of deal, So this
do you remember like every now and again one of us would say like an idea or like for a scene or something? And whoever one of us should go Cleaver. Cleaver.
Just really got to be careful. This isn't Cleaver.
And it became this byword for just like this is the shit version of what this could be. Because, and I think for because we had that really kind of instilled in us, and because AWA and Axel and everyone kind of gave us it was our book, so obviously we could do kind of whatever we wanted. But they really encouraged us just kind of tell it in the way we wanted to tell it. And we really wanted to kind of never properly explain the horror because we kind of we felt like
ambiguity.
You can tell all kinds of horror stories and some explain everything and some don't. It's just the style thing. But for this one, we really wanted for it to never be explained. Obviously there's kind of hints and clues and kind of ideas of what's going on, but it's never kind of that kind of really cheesy thing of Poltergeist of it's on an ancient Native American burial ground or something like that. We didn't want an explanation. It was just we've even kind of toying with is it just all in their heads? Is there nothing actually happening to them?
You certainly walk away from the series with that sense of foreboding horror still with you, I must admit.
Right, cool.
Brilliant.
It's just, and if you look at, without giving too much away, what happens in it, it could be all in their heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just if you look at the exact actions, especially in the last issue, and certain things that happen without spoilers.
Or could it, Rob?
Or could it?
He's back! Hey, Lawrence!
Hey, but he's immediately frozen.
Immediately frozen.
Hello. Sorry about that.
You were frozen like this.
Still is.
Yeah, it was a good place to be frozen.
It really was. It was a great
Have I gone
expression,
again?
and he's done it. You keep, it's not a great connection, mate.
You keep freezing.
Oh, he's gone again. We have had a comment from Marco Xavier. He said he read the first issue a few weeks ago and really enjoyed it. Gonna grab the trade.
Great.
Thanks, Marco.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah.
Hope you like it.
I'm sure he will. And you mentioned before Michael Mann's Collateral and that movie, and yeah, I can definitely see that. Are there any other movies that sort of influenced the idea behind the book?
Jacob's Ladder was one for me.
Yeah.
Again, just that sense, which I haven't seen Jacob's Ladder for years, but it had a big effect on me when I saw it in the cinema. And just that thing of, he sees things like in Jacob's Ladder, that a bus goes past and there's some freaky demonic looking things he sees around the city. And there's that sense that he doesn't know if it's in his head, or if it's real, So
and neither does the viewer. That's the great thing about it, isn't it? Yeah. That's the whole idea that the reader or the viewer, there's that ambiguity about what is actually happening, and you're leaving it to make it up, for them to make up their mind. I love that, because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but you read it, you watch a movie or you read a book, and you have this idea in your head. You think, is that the way it's meant to be? And then when it's revealed, doesn't matter what the reveal is, it feels like a big letdown. It's like, is that all it was? And it's nice to keep that mystery.
Nothing can ever live up to it, can it? I mean, that's for me a lot of like other than Michael Mann, like the two biggest influences were Kubrick's The Shining and David Lynch films, mainly because Lynch because of the LA kind of horror stuff. But with The Shining, it's about kind of like a tone and a feel and a tension rather than like a shock horror. Because I think with comics, it's so you can't really do that kind of like quite loud type horror stuff. The kind of like something that kind of shocks you. So I feel like you have to build a sense of dread for it, and that's kind of how you get the real kind of horror feeling. And those, like the Shining, obviously has that in fucking spades. So,
well, those moments of the hauntings in those early issues, they remain quite silent, don't they? And I think that adds to the strength. Like you say, there's no explanation. It looks quite Harryhausen horror, if you like, some of the imagery that Laurence includes. And of course, that inky blackness. Now, I don't know whether it's the PDF copy I was looking at, but you could see the different inky blackness in Laurence's artwork shining through. And that seemed to contrast well with what I can only assume was digital colour added by Lee to get those glowing effects.
Laurence?
See if we can get something from Laurence.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Just
we can.
there we go now.
This is real. I can hear you. I can hear every word you're saying. So.
Oh, really?
I'm almost like the Watcher. So,
but with more hair.
No, I agree. The artwork was done in pure black and white. Lee, I'm going to jump it. Lee done it with the colours.
It's gone again.
Lost him again.
Gone again.
Jumped
so I'm assuming the artwork was done in just basic analog, pen and ink, and then it was sent through, was it?
I mean, Laurence works in traditionally, but in fact, I've got an original page by him somewhere.
I've got a page in the other room as well.
Yeah. So I don't know how Lee works, but it looked that way certainly.
I assume digital. I can't think of many colorists these days who.
That's a good point.
It's true. You don't get many.
Colour in.
Yeah.
Get me crayons on your Bristol board. Yeah.
Someone's ringing me. Who's ringing?
It'll be Laurence, of course.
Yeah.
It will.
It's Sam. It's Sam. Don't ring me during the stream, Sam. I'm not going to.
So listen, I'm going to ignore Shane. So we've got Primo, we've got Alex, we've got Donny. They've all come back together. You know, and the story goes from there, I suppose, doesn't it? And of course, as each issue goes by, it seems to be more and more complex of a story. And as you said earlier, Rob, I mean, there's a certain part with a particular painting where you do certainly feel this could be in all their heads, quite rightly. But it's also a story where everyone's a shit. And I still found myself being drawn in nonetheless. I mean, how do you and Ollie, from a writing point of view, manage to get that balance where you know you're going in with a bunch of criminals and you've got to come out of it with us feeling something for these characters?
Yeah, that is a challenge. I mean, Ollie's quite good on that. I mean, Ollie's quite... occasionally, if I would kind of raise that kind of question, you know, I don't think you're not interested at all in sort of redeeming the teachers.
Is that enough of that on In the Night Garden?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not for like, it's not for I feel like no characters have to have redeeming features.
No, I didn't mean that.
No. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but like I felt like with this story, and to not kind of like spoil the whole story, these are three terrible people. These are three really terrible people.
Yeah,
and we humanize them. We kind of like, we don't like give excuses for how they act, but we try and explain why they act the way they do. But this wasn't like a redemption story.
No, I mean, Alex is kind of. We talked about like one of them. Yeah, Primo's the brawn, Donny's the brains, and Alex is the heart. And one of the contradictions of it is, even though Alex is the heart, and you know, a couple of times in it, people say to him, "You're too soft, Alex." You know what I mean? That'll be that kind of line comes back. But Alex has kind of run it all, and all the bodies that are buried out in the desert. You know, he's signed off on it. He's just he's got a loving family at home. You know, and all that side of things. And I guess you feel sympathy as well, even for Alex, because in Alex's issue, you see how badly treated he was by his father, you know. So, you know, they're not alone in that thing of like, even though they're our protagonists, they're horrible people. But
I think Lopez offsets that a lot, because she's a shit, but she's that way because of what the world has done to her. She hasn't necessarily turned it outwards, whereas they're the people who create people like Lopez, you know.
Yes.
And I think that she's the kind of the conscience of it. She's the kind of like heart and that's why she runs all the way even though she starts off as quite a minor character. That's why she kind of
you barely notice she's there, don't you?
It's
it's a great sort of don't look this way.
And in a way, it's kind of her story if you think about it, because, like you say, there is no redemption on offer for the other three, but she is the one. This night is kind of her precipice. This is her moral sort of, you know, will she step over a line? And the other three, they've stepped over. That was a long time ago. So in a weird kind of way, when it comes to the final issue, it's kind of Lopez's soul that's on the line, really.
And just coming back to kind of like, good guys or bad guys. Well, not good guys, but portraying them without many redeeming features. It's just about being true to who these characters are. Like, you know, it's if that's who that character is, then you can't just kind of and you know, Rob never. I know you're saying it was kind of me, but Rob never suggested this kind of thing either. But you can't just tack on like, they're kind to puppies or something like that.
It's not a Christmas Carol, is it?
Exactly.
Well, there is that book, isn't it? Which I have here somewhere. Save the Cat.
Yeah.
Where I mean, they give the example in that that guy, say Blake Snyder, who was a writing guru. said like you have to have a save the cat scene early on, you know, to get them on side. And there's you know, you can think that's bullshit, but enough people have done it in the past. Yeah,
which I do.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I find most like there's always good stuff in writing books, but I think there's a massive problem with it. Like actually, less so in comics, but a lot of times in like film and TV, where they become a kind of paint by numbers thing. So everyone does it the same way, which I'm sure, it can help. But then the problem is, then you have people on the other side who go, well, this must be a bad film because this doesn't happen by page 7. This doesn't happen by page whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times people take a really good analysis of a good film of saying, this is why All the President's Men works so well. And then they go, well, that's... oh, my God.
We've got Laurence on Sam's phone. Hey, Laurence.
How did you get in there?
He's really good. He's got a really good phone with a crap laptop connection.
Why
This is like Inception now. We've got layers within layers.
I was just going to say that. It's like Inception on StreamYard.
Why can't Laurence join StreamYard on his phone?
Yeah, you should be able to, Laurence. You should be able to do it on your phone, like I have. You just go to your browser on your phone.
Yeah, you have to shout, Laurence.
Laurence is trapped.
Wait,
it's the Phantom Zone. That's
the Phantom Zone.
No, he's Rob Brydon's man in a box. Can you put his speaker next to your big microphone, Sam?
Yes, hang on.
Sam.
I got an idea. Yeah.
Okay.
This is brilliant. First time, folks, on StreamYard, man in a box.
We've got to get him out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who's going to talk about the art?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is brilliant.
If only he could do sign language.
Well, we then all have to be able to read sign language as well.
Yeah, there is that, I suppose.
Oh, dear.
Wait, Laurence, try and say something. Oh, no,
Sam,
we can hear Sam.
We can't hear you now, Sam. Your audio's gone.
And Laurence is now.
It's not working.
I'm going to text Laurence and tell him to join StreamYard on his phone.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yes. Tell Laurence, Sam. Tell Laurence to join StreamYard on his phone.
Yourself.
Can you hear me, Laurence? You should be able to join StreamYard on your phone, because that's what I'm doing now.
Oh, wait, unless he's got an iPhone, because it might not work. It doesn't work with Safari.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will be that.
He has an iPhone. Okay.
Right.
He needs to download Chrome.
If he's got a Facebook app, can you do it through the Facebook app?
Don't think so. It has to be through a browser. That was pretty impressive, to be honest, Sam. Yeah, we're making history there. While we're fucking about with this, I'm just going to see if I can get these comments.
Hold on, can't you listen to his answers, Sam, and just translate them over to us?
Yeah, you can be his voice.
You can be interpreter.
Good luck with the comic, guys. Best wishes from V2A.
Thank you very much.
And from Steve McManus. We all know who that is.
Yeah.
What hooch is causing this hilarity? Want some? It wasn't this chaotic for your show, was it, Steve?
Laurence has said, "Help! I'm trapped in the Phantom Zone."
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, he was. He's just going onto the phone and just start going,
you know why that is? It's because he's guilty. We should all do that. We should all do a guilty in the faces.
Yeah.
Guilty. There it is.
I'm going to message him, see if he wants us to say anything on his behalf.
Yeah.
It's quite old school, that, isn't it? It's like being on Swap Shop or something.
2 cans and a bit of string, that's all we need.
Yeah. So we'll ask Laurence questions and you can answer for us, Sam.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, let's do that. No, we'll answer on behalf of Laurence.
Yeah, that's better. But listen, this is a creator-owned book. And of course, because there are a lot of things unanswered, it gives you the opportunity to dip back into it whenever you can, I suppose. And if that's the case, are there any plans afoot already or any germinating ideas where you think this should be quite nice in a few months' time?
Me and Rob did have two separate ideas to set in this world, but not necessarily with these characters, but a similar sort of story. We kind of toyed with the idea of doing kind of like 2 books in one, kind of like both telling these 2 separate stories and then kind of together at the end. But we haven't had any firm plans to do anything.
No, I mean, we talked about like it. I mean, it could be a little like much like the Terror was on AMC in the States, where they kind of they kept the sort of core concept and theme, but different stories and different eras and different characters. You could easily do that with more Old Haunts. You could set another story pretty much anywhere, really. Everyone's got crimes, you know, and sort of guilty secrets and something, and that's the basic. It's kind of like what you've done in the past coming back to haunt you, sort of literally. But so yeah, maybe we'll see.
Okay, was it nice?
I would never work with Rob again, so that is the one issue we have.
We could do like when those touring bands, when you go and see like the Four Tops and there's not the Four Tops anymore or something. Like, yeah, I could have
It would be Ollie Masters Old Haunts and Rob Williams Old Haunts.
Exactly, 2 different.
Like the
new Old Haunts and the original Old Haunts.
The real Old Haunts.
A paper mache sort of Ollie next to me for interviews.
But which one would get Laurence? That's the question. Or would one have the real Laurence and one have the Phantom Zone Laurence?
Oh, I'd fight Rob to the death or we get Laurence to draw both books and he has to just work really hard.
He'd love that. I mean, what we could do again, we could have a paper mache model with an iPad sellotape to it and just Lawrence's face on it.
Oh, now you're talking. That would work.
That was well met.
Rob, if you're happy to settle for that, I'll take the real Laurence.
All right. Oh no, the paper mache Laurence wouldn't have a drawing hand, would he? Oh no.
Sorry, Rob. Of course, this isn't your first collaboration with Laurence. You've done the Punisher Go to Wales, which was great, and you recently did Strontium Dog in the Christmas prog.
Yeah, Laurence and I, we've worked together. We did a story called Breathe in Space for 2000 AD, which might have been the first thing we did together. We did a Wolverine together for Marvel. What else have we done? We've done a few things over the years. We did a Dread together as well, a short Dread. So yeah, I mean, it's just like Laurence and I have just been mates for years since we first sort of started going into getting into comics together, really. So, and we're working on something now at the moment, which we can't talk about yet as well. So I just think. Laurence and I will probably end up always working together in one form or another. See, that's it. That's a great Johnny Alpha he's done, but it also Laurence.
Strange, that isn't it?
That story was definitely the best thing in the Christmas prog, I feel.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And also, was it Lawrence's or yours? Your idea to have color just on the first 2 pages and then all black and white, sort of old school.
I think that was Laurence suggested that. Yeah, because what we wanted to do was like do this Strontium Dog in a kind of in the style of the old sort of the original Star-Lord sort of which had these crazy bonkers Carlos Escoera colors for the first 2 pages, and then the rest would be black and white. So we thought, well, that'd be kind of fun to do that. It wasn't that Dylan Teague was lazy when he just only wanted to color 2 pages and gave up. So it worked really well. But it was just like it was just a purely a fun thing where Laurence and I both read Star-Lord when we were kids, and we went, oh, that'd be cool to do Strontium Dog for like 8 pages and bugger off and never do Strontium Dog again.
Doing any more Strontium Dog?
I doubt it. I mean, it kind of feels like it's so sort of. Carlos Escoera's visual voice, basically. I thought it was fun to do a one-off short for the Christmas prog, but I think it'd be a bit weird and it's big shoes to fill as well. Any creative team would come on and we're going to do more Strontium Dog. I think you're going to suffer by comparison. Really, you can get away with it with a one-off 8-pager, I think. Yeah,
but it's great to have you on, Rob, because I don't know if you know, but I'm doing a weekly first look of the 2080 progs.
That's it. Get your plug in, Sam.
I'm going to get my plug in. Yes, absolutely. And obviously, I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and you have featured quite heavily.
Oh dear, where's this going?
And I want to let you know for you, Rory,
I've got a lot of problems with you people.
No,
Sam is very honest on the show.
How do you feel about? So how do you feel about giving characters like a good death and then leaving them? How do you feel about that? Because
obviously not very well.
Small House.
All your fellow creators.
Yeah.
I love the Small House. It was amazing. It had one of the best moments of.
Yeah, there's a butt hanging.
Yeah, but what, Sam?
Come on, Sam.
Like
spit it out.
And Dirty Frank had such a great death. They finished, and then they sort of come back. It's a bit like, why not give people a great death? How do you feel about that?
Well, with Dirty Frank, I never thought he was dead. It wasn't a case of he's dead. Oh, I know, I'll bring him back. I mean, I knew he was going to live. I had a vague idea of what was going to happen with him. I just thought this Hershey story, the thing that's interesting to me about it, and whether or not anyone else finds it interesting is another matter. But it's about two central characters who effectively have had their lives, their races have run, and they're still alive, and that sense of what do you do now? And that's thematically two people dealing with like, well, it's over. Our entire purpose is like we've done our purpose, but yet we're still kind of here. So it's kind of like a road journey of it's kind of a fairly existential, I think. So I'm kind of enjoying writing it anyway.
I think a few of us out there can relate to that one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we're finished. What do we do now?
Yeah, exactly.
It's growing. It is growing on me. I mean, Simon Fraser's art, especially the colours, are amazing. It's lovely.
Yeah, and again, it's a bit like it's one of these. Well, it's one of those series we went. Well, let's do something which is like nothing else in 2000 AD, which is jarring by the very nature. And we wanted to do things like the cut-up cinematic technique of things like the Thomas Crown Affair in 60s films, and there's a sense of cinematography to it with the colors, which is all Simon coloring it. So it is a bit. It is by definition, by intent, something different from what you normally get in 2080. So yeah.
I mean, you mentioned a sense of cinematography. That certainly comes across in Old Haunts. And I know I've read in interviews where that was your intention, those wide angle shots, and also some of the cuts in between scenes certainly not only sort of keeps the readers on their toes, but, we go back to this sort of sense of Michael Mann on paper meets David Lynch. It works very, very well.
Well, that's something that actually I don't read reviews of my own work anymore. But like I found throughout most of my comic career, my work has always been called cinematic, like every time. So that's definitely something that's kind of come through in how I write it, and I guess the artists who I've chosen to work with. I don't know about you, Rob.
I think it's well, I mean, if it's your reference points, isn't it? And just like I know most of the time you watch a lot of movies, and we watch. I know we'd like a lot of the same TV shows and stuff, and it's like that's your cultural input, so that tends to sort of filter out you a bit when in your work, I guess. Yeah, we did bring certain. Things like Goodfellas is in there, obviously, and Sopranos and Michael Mann and whatever. So yeah, we're coming at it from our reference points for this weren't really comics. It was more TV and film.
Well, I think it's always important, like whatever medium you're working in, obviously you need to understand that medium to kind of like work it, but all the best people bring in influences from whether it's literature, film, music, or whatever. Like if you're only like cannibalizing the same stuff, like if we'd only read horror and crime comics and that's all we brought to this, then you wouldn't necessarily be bringing anything special to it. You need those outside influences coming in and stealing techniques from other mediums. Always kind of create something new. You're never going to recreate a film on a page, or if you try to, it's going to come out very badly, but you can take inspiration and kind of like co-op techniques for it, definitely.
Well, I think some stories lend themselves better to cinematic takes than others, and certainly Old Haunts was certainly one of those stories, I suppose, because it is set in more of a real world than, let's say, maybe something like Judge Dredd or Suicide Squad, where you can play more with the dynamics of a comic book page, if you see what I mean.
But it's the artist as well. I mean, Laurence is brilliant at that. I mean, he does, if you look back at his Punisher issues, they're page wide, they're very, just by definition, cinematic, and he gets that. And it's like, we knew we were writing for Laurence, so you can do that stuff. And I think one of your jobs as a comic writer is sometimes you don't know who the artist is and who you're working with, and it's very difficult to sort of like try and sort of tempo create for, if you're working for the big two, sometimes Marvel and DC very often, but if you know who you're writing for, then you try and play to their strengths, and this is Lawrence's.
No, I've always been extremely lucky, except for I think two stories I've done. Everything I've written, I've known who was going to draw it beforehand,
right?
Or I've had time to go back and change the script substantially when a new artist has come on. And it helps so much because you tailor so much to what they want to do. And talking about the widescreen, I can't remember if Laurence kept it up through the entire book, but one thing he wanted to try and do was have, whenever it was kind of like normal, it was going to be widescreen, and then whenever the kind of horror elements started to creep in, then he'd start playing around with the like page design and kind of like go through. So there's this kind of, you're not really aware of it, but there's this kind of like subtle kind of like visual change.
There was a formal thing we did in Alex's issue, right, where page 1 was a splash, page 2 was 2 panels, page 3 was 3 panels, page 4 was 4 panels, which built up until there was this explosion. Well, there was about 24 panels on one page at one point. No, double page spread. Sorry.
Did we actually keep fully? Because I remember that was the idea. Because originally what I wanted to do was that every single page we would add a panel, so we'd end up on a 22 or 20 page panel page.
Oh, that's crazy!
Making it harder on yourself.
Yeah.
Well, not on ourselves, mainly on Laurence.
Yeah.
And then didn't we go the other way then, Rob? Because I think that what we ended up doing was like going up to a 10-12 panel page, and then
we turned over the DPS of the vulture looking at you. You turn the page, so that was trying to build tension using comic form. It was getting more and more. The beats of tension it was getting more and more claustrophobic every page, and then you turn a page, and then suddenly there's a double page spread. So we were trying to do, we tried to do some quite interesting things with Old Haunts, really. Yeah,
and this comes back to what I was saying before about you can't really do jump scares or anything like that. So it's all about creating the tension through tone and storytelling, and those techniques were all a part of that. Of like that increasing claustrophobicness of like the panel, the page getting more and more kind of like built up and cluttered, and then like Rob said, you just turn that page and suddenly you've just got this like demon staring you in the face.
Yes,
like no dialogue at all. It's just kind of like there.
It can give you a shiver, can't it? An image like that. Within the normality, you suddenly get something that within that real world, something that's really otherworldly, suddenly can give you a real shiver, can't it?
Yeah.
And that's what we were. That's what we were going. We wanted to sort of make it a creepy thing. You know what I mean? The type of thing that makes you go rather than there you go.
Yeah. I mean, these pages are absolutely. Oh, thanks, Sam. Switch them off just as I'm talking about. In true Sam style. But those pages.
I can show you some page.
Do it old school style. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see it, so it's in front of me, so I can't.
That's actually a very good example that you've managed to get by complete accident there of the sort of the big reveal image over the sort of page turn. That's a good example. If Sam checks, I've got one up and ready. Sam, not me, you idiot. Check this. There we go. There we go.
Hey.
There's what you were talking about earlier, wasn't it? And you can see on the thumbnails by the side that kind of build up, the narrow widescreen angles, the darkness. The I love that contrast between LA in the background, all nice and well, quite shiny, and then the darkness, and then of course this quite fragmented page that only adds to the horror. And this is what I mean by the Harryhausen kind of horror. You can see it's kind of like the skeletons from Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah.
You can imagine how it moves, can't you?
Yeah, man. That's creepy.
Yeah, do you know what's weird? Like that's actually kind of that's how I imagined it. Was there's kind of like animated.
Wow.
Yeah, because kind of like slightly shuddering because there's something so much more terrifying about that than if it was just kind of like smooth. And that's kind of like that's the Lynchy thing as well. Like, because he always did everything on a low budget, it meant that he had to create weirdness in these strange ways. And I love that. I love that it's kind of this weird uncanniness. It's not like full blown, like, here's something really horrifying. It's kind of, here's something just slightly weird. And then it's going to get weirder. Then it's going to get weirder, and then suddenly, bam! Here's something really terrifying. But you're already on edge up until that point.
Yeah,
I think it's like I always thought the one that sticks on me is the bit in Poltergeist, which always freaks me out just talking about it, where she's the mother's doing in the kitchen, and then she turns around and all the chairs are stacked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, like no one gets an axe through the head or anything like that, but there's something. There's an intelligence, a playful intelligence behind that we can't understand, and that, as a result, makes it really creepy, unnerving,
And also, the really terrifying thing about that sort of stuff is that we all, like we were talking about, seeing stuff like out of your car in your peripheral vision. We all see stuff like that because our brains play tricks on us and things. So that's why that sort of thing is so much more terrifying. It's because we've all had weird experiences like that.
Yeah, like when you see something like a shape in the dark in your bedroom at night, it looks uncannily like something from your darkest fears, but it's just your satchel, But you could have swore it moved, but it was just like a car light from outside moving across it that made you think it was moving. I love stuff like that. And you can play with that, with the lighting and the way things move in comics as much as you do in movies. You can express it in and I looked on that other page the broken panel gutters as well that look like a claw or something being drawn across the page. That's quite an inspired idea. That is, that's something you really haven't seen before.
That's Laurence. I think I'm not sure that was in the script, but
really?
Laurence is clever.
Didn't we ask him to make it look more like the vulture was being born, and that's why it's kind of got the slime afterbirth. Can I hang it up? I think that's like our only note to him pretty much the entire time was like,
wow,
really?
It's work with you two again then. If it's that easy.
Well, it was the nickel and dime vulture, we called it, because he's got he's got one nickel for one eye and one and dime for another eye, which are different sizes, which I don't know, again, is one of those things that just creepy for some reason. It doesn't make a great deal of sense, but
but there's no explanation, is there? Again, it's that I mean, it's certainly got resonance with Greek mythology and all of the sort of pennies and things. And I think that's enough of a link for most people. And like you say, without giving it's the J.J. Abrams keep people guessing kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think also to Rob's point, I don't know why there is something creepy about it being two different sizes.
Yeah. Because it makes it look deranged for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
As though if it was perfectly normal vulture, if it had the same size. Oh, that's fine.
Oh yeah, walking, talking vultures are fine as long as their eyes are the right size.
A very sensible demonic vulture that you could trust.
It would have ruined the whole book.
Yeah,
that's one of those things, isn't it? That's so ingrained in universal culture, as something to be afraid of or to set you on edge. I mean, how many myths? I think you mentioned Greek myths, Roman myths. Even the old Celt myths. There's so many characters with these strange eyes, and I think it's so set in our subconscious that sort of fear, that sort of unedged, that sort of edginess about it.
Isn't Coraline has the other mother who has
isn't it buttons
for eyes, and it's just like, oh, that's
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we didn't, coming back to like not wanting to explain anything. We didn't particularly want to choose from any mythology or like urban myths or anything like that, because we didn't want to kind of like have to stick to any rules that like anyone else has kind of like set up in any way.
Yeah.
But that's one of those nice things where it's like, we know why that's creepy, because like I say, that's something which has been in so many cultures. It's essentially just like a base human thing to be done. So that's the kind of thing where that can freak out anyone, rather than like, well, I know everything about werewolves, so I know why they can do this and why they can do that.
Yes.
Not shitting on werewolves at all, but just...
they tend to shit on us, the werewolves.
Werewolf shit stinks, man.
Low hanging fruit. Yeah, I'm going to werewolves, Ollie. The most obvious of all the targets.
I'm gonna have so many tweets from werewolves now.
Oh, werewolves, they're underrepresented.
But not nice swearwolves. Werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yes.
They're nice.
Oh, well, this podcast has just descended. But I think that it's really interesting as well. You were saying, about how things are in culture and all that. I think it actually goes back even further than that as well sometimes, because we've evolved, haven't we, from creatures that were afraid of certain types of predators. And that's almost like could you call it a genetic memory, if you like? And that those fears go way, way back before we were even human beings,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think vultures are actually bad in real life. Like, I don't think we...
Do you know enough of them, do you, Ollie?
Yeah, don't want to get on the wrong side of them either.
Because the ones I met, terrible.
I've already pissed off the werewolves, right? I don't know when the vultures come.
There's going to be cancel culture. Ollie is cancelled now by werewolves and by vultures.
No, the vultures are going to save me because I stood up.
Yeah. You're sticking up for vultures.
But with the vultures, don't slack off werewolves or else.
Thanks for that, Sam.
I mean, the thing with the vultures, it's about them kind of like, they pick over the kind of like the dead, and that's kind of what this book is. It's picking through their history and their lives and kind of like dragging the... This is really disgusting. And I'm dragging the rotted meat to the...
Oh, excellent.
About halfway through that. It's like, am I really going to go for this?
Yeah.
Do I want to finish this sentence? Dragging the rotted meat. That should be the title of this podcast. I need to re-edit it. But the ideas are so strong there, and your universe that you've created, you were alluding to before about possibly telling more stories within it. I suppose there's a lot of potential for things like an anthology or something like that, where you could, tell short little character pieces. Because I do love those, short, sharp shockers, that are more about that little moment in a character's life as opposed to the long, narratives that a lot of graphic novels produce. I do like the idea sometimes that you could tell quite poignant character stories in 4 or 5 pages,
Yeah, I didn't think about that. We could get better writers and artists to...
Are you putting Rob down again now, Ollie?
I'm going to have werewolves after me. I'm going to have Robs after me.
Robs.
All the Robs. All the Robs.
All the Robs and the Bobs.
Yeah.
Oh,
but that is an interesting thing. We could do an Old Haunts anthology book.
Well, the thing is, there is like
Cool.
the whole thing with like future shocks, isn't it? With 2008, the only rule is there has to be a shock on the last page. With you could do that with Old Haunts, but someone's going to get their comeuppance, basically. You know, unless there's facts. There's a lot of people out there who deserve to get their comeuppance. So.
There are indeed.
Every story is just going to be
the.
Every story is just going to be the writer settling old scores with
over
in the past.
It's got a bit. Dead people are going to look strangely like artists.
That's how you sell it.
It's got a bit Alan Partridge, isn't it? Like, needless to say, I had the last laugh. That could be the final. That could be the final panel of
every single time.
Yeah,
that could be the rule. You've got to include that line and the one line about Dan.
Yeah, we can do that.
That'll be it. For that, if we ever do this anthology, the title will be "Needless to Say."
Yeah, you heard it here, folks. I'd definitely be up for buying an anthology of it because I think it's such a rich idea, you know. And it would save having to publish lots and lots of graphic novels. Yeah, just do one book.
If everyone tells AWA, you never know.
You listening, folks?
There you go.
Well, I think if anyone's going to do it, AWA. I mean, I said I've been reading The Resistance and Care Andrews' new, and what I find is they're finding new things to say about old tropes. I mean, obviously they got very lucky and very prescient with the whole virus thing with Back to the Resistance this time last year. But what they've done since, I've really enjoyed. And as I said, even the teen superhero tropes that Care Andrews is looking at in his erratic comic, they're just throwing up new and different ideas. He's taking stereotypical. And I think that's also what AWA are good at. And certainly Old Haunts definitely fits into that kind of vein that they're going for.
Well, Axel's, it's Axel's baby, and Axel was, at Vertigo at the height of Vertigo, and early days of revitalizing Marvel. So I mean, he's smart.
He's got a great track record, hasn't he? Yeah. You look back on his career, and he's responsible for a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
so it's really exciting.
And he likes and understands a lot of genre stuff as well. So I think that's why he's kind of picking these kind of like new takes on kind of like older, not genres, but ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they've kind of mixed as well. Like they've got their superhero universe, but they're also doing the create your own stuff, like like Old Haunts and a few, So it's kind of interesting. It was
growing nicely.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, we hope to get some more creators from AWA on at some point.
And of course, if no one has read Old Haunts yet and they're keen to get the trade paperback when it comes out, they can go to AWA's site and read the first issue for free, can't they?
They can.
Yeah, get a really good taste for it.
Yeah.
And I think the trade should be out today, but I think weather might have meant some places haven't got it. I think if not today, then you should have it next week after. Should be in shops. And
it's only a tenner, is that right?
I think it's less
cheaper
than a tenner. Yeah,
I think it's like £6-7, something like that.
How is it so cheap? I mean,
well, they price it by quality, so
I wasn't going to say that.
All their other books are £15.
Yeah,
an absolute bargain, though, guys. It really is. Before we get off, because we're going to have to. Are there any projects of yours that you would like to plug other than Old Haunts tonight?
Where can we see you next?
Yeah, if you could tell us.
I actually can't. Like all this, I haven't actually. I haven't got any comics projects coming up. Everything I'm doing right now is TV or film stuff, and it's all in development at the moment. So there's not really much to say right now.
And I can't work out anything on that board behind you, so that's not giving any clues away either.
But I guess if you do read Haunts and like it, then check out my other stuff. There's Killer Groove with Aftershock. There's Snowblind with Boom and The Kitchen with Vertigo. So
yeah.
And you've got Snowblind film on the way, haven't you?
Yeah, Apple are producing it, and it's Jake Gyllenhaal's starring and producing in it.
That must be exciting.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it looks really good. I've seen the kind of visual pitch for it, and it's great. We've got a great writer. We've got the director, Gustav Müller. He did an amazing Danish film called The Guilty, which I highly recommend you'll check out.
All right, cool. Yeah, nice.
And Rob, you've got End of Days coming out soon, haven't you? The Judge Dredd epic from last year.
Yeah, well, that's collected. I think it's out next month.
Yeah,
in the trade
that's a great story.
Yeah, cheers, man. I mean, it's Colin McNeil and Henry Flint. You know, so it's kind of I've worked with Henry a bunch over the years, and Henry's astonishing. And what else? I'm doing Roy Over Rovers still for Rebellion. Yeah. I'm doing a new project with Laurence, can't talk about yet. I've got another create your own book, which I can't talk about yet.
We're actually with another writer. We're developing a TV show right now, which we can't talk about.
Yeah.
But despite all of old haunts, we decided to work together again.
Wow.
It's kind of
I don't know if Rob feels that way after this interview, Ollie.
after those frankly, litigious comments about werewolves, I think I'm going to have to reevaluate my my working conditions. Yeah. So no, we're kind of developing a TV show at the moment, which is really exciting. But cool. Again, we can't say anything about it.
And it's a shame we can't ask Laurence what he's doing.
I was just going to say that.
Well, actually, Laurence wouldn't be able to tell you because it's a book with Rob that he's not allowed to talk about.
True.
It would be great. It would be great if he could just come on and say, "I can't tell you about it," and then go off.
Also, he's going to be trapped indefinitely in the zone, which is going to be an issue, a problem finishing drawing this series.
I highly recommend, though, that you go back and check out Rob's book, Unfollow, which is a favourite of mine that he's done.
With Mike Dowling, I enjoyed doing Unfollow. That was a good one. We did books we did through Vertigo a few years back.
Another good artist as well there.
Yeah, Mike's fantastic.
So we're really sorry that we couldn't get Laurence on for the majority of the show. It really is a shame, because I'd like to have, chewed the fat with him about his artwork while he was here. But hopefully we'll get another opportunity.
Well, I was going to say, maybe you can try and get him on for a solo thing, and he can just talk about his artwork.
Definitely, we'll get him back.
If he drops out then that's just me and Shane talking.
Then we're screwed. Yeah, we'll have to get some other schmuck to join him.
Tell him to get better internet. I tell you what, spend an hour before setting up his phone so he can do it on his phone.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, thank you so much for tonight. We know it's been a little bit chaotic, but it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys and to and thanks for sharing, all your thoughts about the book and werewolves and other stuff. Sam, you've reappeared. Did you have a question before we go?
No, I just want to say thank you and keep up the good work. Definitely going to get a copy of Old Haunts. And
highly recommend it, everyone.
All right. Well, thanks for having us, guys. It's been good fun. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great evening.
Cheers, all.
Bye-bye.